Good afternoon, everyone. And firstly, thank you for your patience while we try and maximise the space in the hall. Hopefully, we'll just be a few more minutes before we get started. So, well, welcome, first and foremost. Welcome to Liverpool. Welcome back to Liverpool, for those of you that might not have been here for a little while. It's great to see you all here today on this rather blustery day, but we're really glad that you could all make it. So, as I say, I'm just going to make a few reasonably quick housekeeping announcements. So, first and foremost, we don't have a fire drill planned for this afternoon. So if you do hear fire alarms, then if you could make your way slowly and carefully to the nearest exits, either side of me here at the front of the auditorium, or through the exit, or rather the entrance that you came in at the back of the auditorium, and ushers will be on hand to direct you to the muster point. So, a little bit of information firstly to the graduates, just to explain how things are going to work this afternoon in terms of your ceremony. Firstly, I hope that you all have your name cards with you. Can I see nods? Nods, yeah. Anyone going to wave that? Yeah, excellent. Thank you, because you will need those when the time comes to come up and be presented here in the auditorium. So when that time comes, please make sure that you bring your name card with you. So when it is that time and you are lining up here to be presented, you will give your card to the Dean, who will be stood where I am, presenting everyone for admission. And then usually in our degree ceremonies, we ask you to shake the hand of the presiding officer. Now, of course, it's probably not the best time at the moment to ask you to do that, so we're not going to ask you to do that. And instead, graduates, we're going to ask you all to doff your cap. You're looking absolutely terrified at this point, thinking, what on earth is this chap talking about? It's quite straightforward. So when your name is called, and there's a round of applause, you'll walk across the front of the auditorium here. You will stop on the mark that you'll see in front of you. Turn towards the presiding officer, touch the peak of your mortarboard, and just nod in acknowledgement towards him, and then carry on walking, okay? So there's no need for any elaborate sort of, bowing and curtsying, although we had a few curtsies this morning, so I'm not going to stop anyone if that's really what you want to do. But yeah, so if you could doff your caps, that's caused much excitement here in the front. Now, the rest of you, guests of graduates, have an even more important role, which is to clap each graduate as they walk across here at the front of the stage. In fact, we don't just want you to clap, we want you to cheer, we want you to holler, we want you to whoop as loudly as you can, basically. So it's after lunchtime, some of you might need to sort of pick the energy up. So shall we try your loudest round of applause right now, please? Excellent. That's very good, actually. Better than this morning. Bad news, of course, is that you are going to have to do that about 127 times. But if you can keep that energy up throughout, then we are surely in for a terrific ceremony this afternoon. A few final points just to make you aware of. Obviously, you'll all be wanting to take lots of photos throughout the ceremony and record parts of it and so on. You're very welcome to do so. Can I ask, particularly those in the centre of the auditorium today, that you refrain from standing up while you're doing so, just so you don't block the views of others. Not so much of a concern, of course, for people up on the balconies. You're very welcome to stand up because there's nobody behind you. So yes, if you could do that, that would be great. This is always a good opportunity to remind you that the ceremony is being recorded and streamed live on the internet this afternoon. More terrified faces here at the front. So if anyone isn't lucky enough to be in the auditorium today, and I know we've practically got a full house, so we've had to turn a few people away, then if they didn't know already, then they can watch that live from liverpool.ac.uk/graduation. A couple of final things, again, on the subject of photos. I'm sure you've all been taking loads of photos across campus today in various locations. Just a reminder that if any of you want to post those up on social, specifically on Twitter or Instagram, then if you tag them with the hashtag #LiveUniGrad, then you can actually pick up free printouts of those images from the Mountford Hall when you return there later for the reception event. So, without further ado, that brings us to the time of the start of our ceremony. So if I can just give you a quick reminder, those of you with mobile devices, if you could just put them on silent for the duration of the ceremony, please. Thank you very much indeed, and I hope you all really enjoy. graduates and guests, can I please ask you all to stand and give a round of applause for your senior officers of the University of Liverpool.
Please be seated. I declare this congregation for the celebration of our graduates open. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your graduation ceremony. It's really wonderful to be able to welcome you all here in person after what for you has been a very long wait. And it's great that so many of you have taken the time and effort to come here today. I'm conscious some of you have come from quite a long way, and no doubt it's some disruption to days off and rotas and so forth. So I'm Professor Tom Wally, and I'm standing in today for the Executive Pro-Vice Chancellor, Louise Kenny, who can't be here. So first of all, I want to say what a tremendous pleasure and privilege it is to be with you here today at this really important milestone in your lives, together with your family and with all your fellow students, and all your lecturers and all those who've supported you on your journey to graduation in the University of Liverpool. Now, today is a very special day for you, all the more precious because of the 2-year pandemic wait you've experienced. It's a day to celebrate your achievements, to thank your family and friends for support, and maybe to reflect. So my reflection on today is that 40 years ago, elsewhere, I was where you are today, just qualifying in medicine. And I remember my very mixed emotions. I was relieved and proud to be finished my studies. I was sorry I wouldn't be going to places like the RAS in future, not that I went to the RAS. And I was rather nervous about what the future held for me. And certainly I couldn't have predicted that I would one day end up standing on this side of the podium talking to you. So, for you, of course, it's all been completely different, because you've been students and health professionals at a time like no other in recent history. Students in universities all over the world have had their studies disrupted by the pandemic and enormously difficult times as a result. And the end of your university experience was very different to what you had imagined and what you'd expected. And it will have felt very, very tough. Your experience and your well-being were always at the forefront of our thoughts, as we have to make decisions around how we balance your teaching arrangements, your placements, and even your safety on campus. We know it's not been easy for you. We know that you had long days and sleepless nights. Now, COVID-19 has devastated and divided people and continues to do so, but it's also brought out some of the best in the human spirit. So as a faculty, we like to think that we rise to challenges and put our hands up to say that we can help with the problems of society. And you, initially as students and subsequently as health professionals, have shown that same spirit. You model the highest values of your noble profession, showing care, compassion, respect, and expertise. You are the people who will be remembered for stepping up when you were needed in February and March 2 years ago to help the NHS and the people we serve during the worst of the pandemic. You're the people who stepped forward to undertake your clinical placements and your sub-FY1 placements in the most difficult of circumstances, at a time when there was no vaccination, when PPE was in short supply, when, to be quite honest, not many of us actually knew what we were doing in all kinds of ways. You're the people who stepped up at the most vulnerable and critical time in the whole history of the NHS since its foundation. We've had that acknowledged with multiple messages from our NHS partners, from NHS England, thanking us for the way you have assisted, particularly in managing that early stage of the pandemic. And you've carried on doing that over the months and years since then, and even now working with dedication and resilience in difficult circumstances to serve your patients. You know of the respect and warmth of anyone in the street for what you've been able to achieve during that time. And I think you've truly been NHS and University of Liverpool heroes. I'd like to applaud you for that. One thing that's certain is that every single one of you here today have shown remarkable spirit and dedication to your work. You didn't do it alone, of course. No doubt there have been many scary and lonely times for you in the past 2 years. But you did it with the support of your colleagues. You did it with the support of your fellow health professionals. You did it with the support of your teachers. And most important, you did it with the support of your family and friends who are here today, and they should be proud of that. And in the university, and here I can speak for the whole university, the Faculty of Health and Life Sciences, and especially Professor Hazel Scott, who's here as the Dean of the School of Medicine, and other colleagues in the School of Medicine, we are immensely proud of what you've achieved in the past 2 years, as well on top of your previous achievements as undergraduates up to the start of the pandemic. You've demonstrated adaptability, perseverance, and even courage in your delivery of high-quality patient care. So we're inspired by you and what you've achieved. Now, today is all about you, your achievements and your personal successes here at the University of Liverpool. But it's also a day to look forward to the future, what your future career aspirations may be or your study plans. One thing the pandemic has shown us is that we never know what the future holds, whether it's going to be a further pandemic or terrible news from the Ukraine today. In many respects, it's advances in science that will be essential to help us dealing with the future. And nowadays, the person in the street understands the importance of research and science and health like never before. Everyone's become an expert in epidemiology and can talk about R numbers and exponential curves and spike proteins and clinical trials. And of course, vaccines and new drugs have combated and helped us to manage COVID-19. Every single one of those drugs or vaccines is the product of intense research activity, and they've been vital in bringing some kind of return to normality for us all. In your professional careers, you will see new diseases come and hopefully go. This pandemic too will pass. When I first qualified over 40 years ago, I can remember my first encounter with that new miracle of medical science, the CT scanner, which to you is just a tool. In my early days as a house officer, we knew the radiologist in charge of the CT scanner as the CT prevention officer, because his job was to stop us His job was to stop us getting a CT scanner at any circumstances, because it was so precious. When I was a medical student, we had the abbreviation AIDS. It stood for autoimmune diseases, because HIV had not been identified at the time I qualified. It came about 2 years after I qualified. And there's a disease which, having been a fatal diagnosis for many years, has now become not curable, but manageable and compatible with the life expectancy. When I qualified, the life expectancy for a woman with breast cancer was 41 months and 35% 5-year survival. The figure nowadays is 76% 10-year survival. So things are a lot better now than they were then, and they will be better again in the future, thanks to the kind of work you're going to do. So advances in science have changed the outlook of people for the better. So lots of things are going to change in your professional career. COVID, as far as we knew, didn't exist at the time you entered your final year. That's not a problem we've solved yet. There are still 100 people dying every day in the UK, and the pandemic no doubt will have some twists and turns for us yet. But its outlook has been turned around by advances in medical science in the past 2 years. Now, during your career, there'll be lots of new technologies. And hopefully patient outlook will improve in many diseases and conditions, and hopefully the NHS will be able to move more and more towards being a true health service rather than a sickness service. Most of you will spend your careers in the NHS, and the NHS is constantly changing to meet the challenge of new technologies, new diseases, changes in the population, and you've discovered by now that the NHS is not always an easy place to work in. But it is still, for all its flaws, the best health service in the world, and I know you'll want to play your part in keeping it in that position. But some things won't change, so I'm going to flag up 3 things that won't change. The first is the need to be a lifelong learner. Just as you've been learning on the hoof all through the pandemic, so too for the rest of your lives, you're going to dedicate yourself to always asking questions, always being curious, and always striving to do things better. I'll offer you a motto here in Latin. 2 pieces of Latin coming. First one is this: nisi satis still optimum. I should ask for hands up who recognizes it. For those of you who don't, I'll translate it as only the best is good enough. And this is one of the paradoxes of graduation. Normally at graduation, we'd be telling you, great, you're qualified, you can go off and face the world now and you're ready for it. And then you actually get out into the world, and as you've discovered over the past 2 years, you're not ready when you leave here. There's a lot to learn yet. It's the start of a long journey. So you know now how patients can be your best teachers. I hope you'll always question if in your care of patients you're doing the right things and if you're doing them as well as you can. But acknowledge that you're going to make mistakes and forgive yourself when you do, because we all need to be understanding of human frailty, because we too are human and frail. The second thing is the need to support one another as friends and as colleagues, because you're all members of a great profession and we all share the aim of improving the health and well-being of our patients and of the population, whether that's the people of Liverpool or more globally. Having offered you a blue motto, I'll now offer you a red one. You'll never walk alone, because your colleagues should be there beside you and walk that with you. Don't feel you have to do it on your own. So be kind to your colleagues, be kind to yourself in all of this. Don't fall into the divisive tribalism that we're all prone to. Gosh, if it wasn't for the med-reg, everything would be fine or whatever. That's not how it is on the ground. He or she has got problems of their own. So the third thing that won't change is the very core of your profession. And you must never compromise on that. And that's never compromise on compassion, which is the hardest of all qualities to actually deliver. Never compromise on your own integrity or your honesty or your willingness to go the extra mile, because that's what people need most from you. Most of all, be kind to your patients. There's a fetish in the NHS to count things and do audit of everything. And you can't really audit kindness. But like a lot of things that really count, it can't be counted, but it's very real. So you will certainly see the most difficult moments in people's lives, and your patients expect and deserve your complete commitment. And there are going to be lots of times, as you've discovered, when this is really hard to do, because you're tired, you're exhausted and frustrated, and you've had a bad day. And what I'd say is, whatever bad a day you've had, your patient's probably had a worse one. So give your patient hope, give your patient confidence in you, even at times you don't feel that confidence in yourself. Ease the worst thing that afflicts your patient, which is fear. So smile, and maybe when the pandemic is past, hug people, shake hands, offer a shoulder to cry on, and I'm glad there's no one here from infection control to hear me say any of that. So grab hold of every one of those 1,000 little moments and acts and gestures that can change the lives of your patients. And remember that sometimes the best thing to do, or even the only thing we can do, is just to listen to somebody. So these are qualities of kindness, resilience, and even courage that you've displayed in abundance in the past 2 years. And I'm really personally reassured when I look at you, because I know that I and thousands of others can depend on you to deliver them in the future. It's a great privilege to be able to be good to people. And you're privileged to be part of what I called earlier a noble profession. But that noble profession is privileged as well to have you as its members. So I have one final piece of advice to you, which is to enjoy your work and your career. Getting out of bed and knowing that what you do every day really matters is a great feeling. So we hope that today is a day to enjoy a return to this great city for you and your guests, and to receive a warm welcome from the university. We hope that Liverpool will always feel like home for you whenever you return. And you may have chosen to stay here and make the city your home, or you may have called it home before you joined the university. Whatever your relationship with the city, we hope it's a place where you've made friends and memories that will last a lifetime. The Victoria Building, it's the one with the clock tower, you saw it earlier on in the film, and perhaps you've had lots, despite the wind, tried to have your photographs taken with it in the background today. So you've walked past it a lot of the time, but you may never have noticed a plaque on that Victoria Building, which carries the motto of the university, which is for the advancement of learning and the ennoblement of life. And that's the foundation on which the university was built, and it continues to guide us in all that we do. So our aim is to inspire and engage and enable every one of you to fulfill your potential by raising your awareness, by challenging you and providing you with opportunities and helping you to break down barriers. You have advanced your learning. You have and you will continue to ennoble life. You've been stretched to think beyond the textbook and the lecture theatre and the laboratory, and you've been encouraged to apply that knowledge to the world around you. And I hope you'll think that your University of Liverpool education has prepared you to realise just how far you can go and provided you with some of the skills you need to get there. So the university has a long and successful history of graduating inspiring students like you who go on to achieve great things. And you've now joined our talented community of past graduates. This is a really important part of the university. Some of you may have seen how that supports students in all kinds of ways, whether it's workshops or work placements or mentoring or lectures. We hope that you, like so many of our past students, will stay in touch with us and help us to guide and support our future students and broaden their horizons with your experiences. Because it's through you that the university is known. You are our greatest ambassadors, and it's through your achievements and your careers that you will become role models and a source of inspiration to the next generation of students. So let's all celebrate today together. Let's thank your lecturers, some of whom are up here on stage, who've provided you with the training and support to become practical and compassionate and resilient in your chosen career, with the kind of skills you're going to need, not just in the health service of today, but actually in tomorrow's, and we don't know what that's going to look like. Let's also thank your family and friends, because it's a day to celebrate for them too. So you may be the one who's gone through medical school, but they've been with you through all of that journey. They've shared your ups and downs, and they've made sacrifices to get you here. So the pandemic has made us truly appreciate our loved ones and the experiences and memories that we made together. So we want to celebrate the role that your loved ones have played, and I hope that you'll take a moment to thank them for the support. I hope some of them are here today to help congratulate you. But graduates, let me invite you to stand and turn and applaud your family and friends. Turn means go the other way. Some of you had trouble with that. So despite the challenges of the past 2 years, I hope you remember many happy and joyful moments during your time here at the university. Never forget how important you are to the university. You are the beating heart of this university, which without you would just be lecture theatres and laboratories and even just red bricks. When we work together, the university is where discoveries are made, friendships are forged, and lives are changed. It's when we work together as staff and students that education is truly transformational. And we would like to thank you for all that you've achieved in your time here and subsequently, and we all wish you good luck and every success in the future. Thank you. And it now gives me great pleasure to invite Professor Hazel Scott, the Dean of the School of Medicine, to address the congregation.
Good afternoon. As Dean of the School of Medicine, I'm really thrilled to welcome you back onto campus and to be celebrating with you just now. In preparing for today, I was a little worried that my emotions would get the better of me on seeing you all again. And I must admit that as I stand before you now, that is very much the case. I echo Professor Wally's sentiments, commending the tremendous dedication you have shown in completing your studies and embarking on a professional career during such a time of uncertainty. However, I'm conscious that nearly 2 years on from the start of the pandemic, it is easy to forget just how new, how unsettling, and quite frankly, how scary it all was. The shifting messages, the alarming statistics, the scramble for the right PPE, and perhaps the sourdough starter. In those first planning meetings, as the school leadership team met, I had no doubt that you would take the adjustments that your programme required in your stride, that we would work together as a school to find the best way forward. But what I didn't know was just how ready you were to do that, and so much more. the burning desire to play your part, to lend a hand, to show in your everyday that medicine is much more than a job or a chosen career path. It is a calling, a vocation, or as the Declaration of Geneva puts it, a dedication of our lives to the service of humanity. Many of you became the newly conceived sub-FY1s stepping into almost doctor roles months in advance to bolster the NHS frontline. Some also took up opportunities as healthcare assistants and volunteers to help care for patients in our communities. And now you're back with us, from clinical settings up and down the country and beyond, from a health service continuing to face the demands and challenges of an ongoing pandemic. We are immensely proud of what you have achieved and of the difference you continue to make, and deeply grateful to those who have supported you, your family and friends, whether here today or with you in spirit, for everything they did to enable you to take those very first steps into medical school, and for all the encouragement they have given along the way. If the last couple of years have taught us anything, it is, I believe, the importance of our care for the NHS we serve, for the teams around us, and for ourselves. Caring for our NHS through vaccination, through ensuring rotas are staffed, through all the extra steps to enable creaking IT systems to deliver. Care for others in speaking out and up, in asking for help, and in checking in with a, how are you? No, how are you really? And care of yourself, trusting that you can rise to the challenge, can make a difference, and taking time for those important connections and for all those other talents that make you who you are. For us at the school and at our partner trusts across the region, we have seen with our own eyes what you are capable of. And we're proud to look to you as our esteemed colleagues as we move forwards together to the big, bright futures that await you and the fascinating developments in healthcare that you will shape. You are so much more than the title doctor conveys. You are the bright, knowledgeable, resourceful, dedicated, team-playing, fun-loving combination that marks you as a Liverpool doctor. I do hope you will continue to connect with us at the university, to come back and volunteer with us, research with us, teach with us, and inspire the next generation to follow in your footsteps. For now, my warmest congratulations and best wishes for the future. Thank you. Thank you. Pro-Vice-Chancellor, it gives me tremendous pleasure to present to you the following graduates from the class of 2020. Konstantina Tilia Michaelidis. Anna Wright Neville. Zina Petros. Holly Anisha Akinyemi. Elizabeth Rose Lyon. Anna May Griffin. Grace May Liversedge. Catherine Maria Plum. Rachel Ann Greenslade. Ramin Carr Hare. Herkiran Carr Calcy. Gaurav Ratan Vashisht. Caitlin Nixon Lithgow. Evangeline Grace Lech. Kate Hannah Foster. Theodora Katsanuli. Ioannis Kyriakou Pilavakis. Stephen Jake Osai Osafo. Darius Tobias Greenidge. Mohammed Bilal Mansour. Olushola John Odusanya. Unmol Kar Tandi. Mohammed Laher. Sandipika Gupta. Amy Adele Lowe. Beth Hemmings. Sarah Catherine Reed. Jenny Gomersall. Christina Ellen O'Dowd. Eleanor Heasel. Catherine Elizabeth Haythornthwaite. Polly Kate Hayden. Katie Larson. Rowanka Owanawita Maraj. Samra Mahmood. Jessica Alice Potter. Aoife Natasha Swain. Naomi Sarah Lloyd. Victoria Morgan. Hannah Lloyd Lawler. Udani Hasara Mahamithwa. Chloe Elizabeth Short. Gabrielle Titley Wilson. Isabelle Lahouse de la Louvière. Emily Hawkshaw. Okay. Nathan David Thompson. Michael James Ray. Kristina Agnieszka Drewniak. Rebecca Russell. Okomini Shimone Omolokun. Ritika Das. Selina Mary Elizabeth Robertson. Alexandra Catherine Ruth Ward. Lydia Hawker. Liron Danielle Ingleby.
I would now like to invite Professor Gavin Brown, Pro-Vice Chancellor of Education, to present some of the university's Faculty Learning, Teaching and Student Experiences Awards.
Pro-Vice-Chancellor, it gives me great pleasure to present the university's Learning, Teaching and Student Experience Awards. These awards recognise, value and reward staff who have made an outstanding contribution to innovation in teaching and supporting student learning. Our university has numerous examples of exceptionally talented and committed staff who work extremely hard to ensure that our students receive an excellent experience whilst at this university. I'd like to congratulate all our award winners today, all of whom have achieved distinction in their respective fields. Our first team award winners have been nominated in recognition of their genuinely novel approach to addressing the challenge of delivering sustainable neurology education and care in resource-poor settings. By building on the expertise and experience of neurological education in Liverpool, this team has formulated an education programme, trained the trainers, and delivered sustainable funding through their Neuro Access and their Neuro Paces initiatives. Delivered in Mozambique and Zambia, Neuro Access has supported the training of more than 650 medical students and doctors since 2013, empowering them to diagnose and manage patients in their own communities. In addition, it has also helped establish new teaching curricula in both countries. Crucially, financial support and trained clinical tutors for the initiative are generated through the team's successful UK-based Neuro Paces programme, which has helped more than 1,300 junior doctors through their MRCP examination since 2010. Collecting the award today from the Institute of Infection and Global Health and the Institute of Infection, Veterinary and Ecological Science is team leader Dr. Benedict Michael. and from the Department of Clinical Infection, Microbiology and Immunology, Dr. Mark Ellul. Our second award is again a team award in recognition of their truly pioneering response to the teaching and learning challenges created during the COVID-19 pandemic. In March 2020, the pandemic lockdown halted all NHS clinical placements for medical students. Yet, at the same time, there was a national call for medical students to graduate early to boost COVID NHS staffing. In a move of national importance, the School of Medicine and clinical placement leads and CEOs from the 7 local NHS trusts responded to this challenge with the co-creation of a new training category called the Sub-Foundation Year 1 role. In this role, final year medical students were paid for and accountable to the NHS trusts and allowed to participate in almost all the normal duties of a Foundation Year 1 doctor, whilst remaining under university supervision and support. The Sub-Foundation Year 1 role was approved by Health Education England and the General Medical Council and allowed Liverpool students to support the NHS front line during a time of national crisis, while completing their training portfolios so that they could graduate early in June 2020. More than 90% of our final year students volunteered to take part, and the majority of those that didn't were unable to do so because they were shielding or living with a vulnerable relative. The project has led to new approaches around preparation for practice modules in Liverpool, as well as informing national discussions to develop improved alternative approaches to conventional shadowing for medical students. Collecting the award today is the Dean of the School of Medicine and Project Team Leader, Professor Hazel Scott. And from the School of Medicine, Dr. Rachel Wallace.
Pro-Vice-Chancellor, I'm delighted to present to you the remaining graduates from the class of 2020. Megan O'Neill. Donna Thomas. Sivarajani Imparaj. Natalia Shafika. Granda Ghazal Aswad. Maysoon Matarid. Lucy Elizabeth Fuller. Kathleen Elizabeth Gilmore. Amy Victoria Hollis. Bradley John Pittam. Richard Prempe. Jonathan Saint. Samuel Hayden Harding. Angus Moore O'Farrell. Edward Lane. Samuel Richard Smith. Bilal Hussain. Yu Xiao. Selina Lakshmi Pillai. Amelia Catherine Marie Jones. Huba Khan. Anisa Abdul Qadir. David Adam Saltman. Ying Zi Zhu. Alexander James Morgan. Bethany Alexandra Crook. Scott Griffiths. Gerum Gasha Gabiu. Benjamin Taylor Gregory. Daniel Benjamin Huntington. Would you like that, sir? Julia Kimla Gabi. Elizabeth Mary Nolan. Ella Davis. Chloe Alexandra Georgia Uffendell. Sophie Mary Miller. Kieran Masson. Chidem Isti. Hamisha Sali. Lucy Boy Wang. Dervla Reed. Jessica Skye Partington. Esme Louisa Littlefair. Chloe Mary Queenan. Georgina Amy Francis Hulse. Elizabeth Lily Grice. Sarah Elizabeth Unsworth. Lucy Claire Elizabeth Hopkinson. Harry Samuel Lobb. Samuel Rees Lumberg. Luke Flynn. Oliver Richard Hadfield. Oliver Michael Lane. Perseus Wace. Anthony Luke McKeever. Andrew James Sweeney. Joseph Simon Holdsworth. Callum Monk.
So congratulations to all our graduates, and we would like always to have a student reflect on their experience here, and I'd like to invite Percy Wace to come forward and tell us a bit about perhaps his and your experiences during the latter days of your student time. Percy.
Pro Vice-Chancellor, distinguished guests, friends, family, and fellow graduates, fellow doctors. We're here today to celebrate the result of years of hard work. Firstly, I'd like to say a massive congratulations to all the graduates of 2020 for achieving degrees in challenging and unprecedented circumstances. It may seem an age ago that we finished our degrees, but I know that we're all very grateful to be able to share this belated celebration with those we love. I'm sure I speak for all of us graduating today when I say thank you to our parents, partners, friends and families who have supported us throughout our journeys, not just in our studies, but beyond. Without their support, guidance, and the sacrifices they have made, many of us would not have made it this far. I would also like to thank all the staff within the School of Medicine, as well as all the tutors and mentors who have been so important in our education. They, and the course itself, prepared us for what we're about to face, not just in terms of knowledge, but also in communication and working as part of the NHS. We were very fortunate to be trusted to start work early during the pandemic, which was a huge learning opportunity and something for which I'm very grateful to the Dean and the School of Medicine. Every graduate today should be immensely proud of their achievement and the huge amount of work and dedication that went into their degree. But while it is true that we all worked hard at university, I would sincerely hope that late nights at the Harold Cohen are not anyone's enduring memories of Liverpool. Some of my best memories have been spent in student halls, Smithdown houses, Concert Square and Seal Street. I've been very lucky to have been involved with the amazing Liverpool Medical Student Society, the LMSS, which has given me incredible opportunities, including appearing on national news and radio with two of my closest friends, performing on stage at the O2 Academy, as well as countless other fantastic events. On my very first day living in Liverpool, 5 hours from home, as my mum drove back from student halls, I sat in my new room alone and panicked. What if I don't fit in here? What if I don't make any friends? I sat there worrying for a short while before there was a knock on the door. The friendly face in the room next door greeted me with a handful of beers and, "Hi mate, I'm Ollie. Fancy hanging out with a group of us in the next block?" Just like that, my fears melted away and university had started. Nearly 8 years on, funnily enough, Ollie still lives next door to me, and he's one of my best mates. Ooh. Although we have moved on from Roscoe and Gladstone halls. Forget the Krebs cycle, the lifelong friends I've made are what defined university for me. I think that's true for all of us. University has marked the transition into adulthood, and we have all been incredibly lucky to have shared the experience with people in this room. Many of us have now been working for a year and a half. As healthcare professionals, we have the privilege of being able to look after people at their most vulnerable in an environment full of motivated people from different backgrounds. However, leaving university and starting in the real world can be a challenging time after having spent those years in a bit of uni bubble. Now more than ever, it is essential to look after our mental health and that of those around us. We've all had rubbish days at work where the stress can get a bit too much, and sometimes all we need is the support from our friends, family, and loved ones. So I encourage all of you to reach out for help when you need it and not to go through it alone. Whether that's chatting to a friend, speaking to a trusted mentor, or seeking advice from a professional, it's completely normal to need help sometimes. And it goes both ways. Be the one to reach out and check on your mates. It's easy to lose touch with your classmates, and I've been guilty of it myself, but take today as a chance to restart conversations and continue them forward. We've come so far, and we've reached so high. From my first day moving into halls right next to Penny Lane, the city has been an incredible place to be a student. The opportunity to study in such a vibrant, diverse, and friendly city is something that I hope we've all made the most of. And if you have moved away to new and exciting challenges, Liverpool will always be home. Never forget where you come from. To quote a key influence for many of us growing up, Paul Catamol from S Club 7, "The sky's the limit, you can reach your goal. No one knows just what the future holds. There ain't nothing you can't be, there's a whole world at your feet." I would like to once again say thank you to all those who've been so integral to our journeys on behalf of all the graduates of 2020. Congratulations again, and I wish you all the best of luck in whatever you go on to do. Thank you.
Percy, thank you very much for that. You'll have to explain to me later on who or what S Club 7 actually are. So we're coming to a close, and I have one last reflection on the day which concerns your role in the pandemic. So when I was a medical student, you can all roll your eyes collectively at this point, we had lots of older consultants who were coming up to their retirement, who had been junior doctors in London or in Liverpool during the Second World War and during the Blitz. And at the slightest hint, they would happily tell you about what happened the night the Luftwaffe bombed Matron's bedroom, and a whole raft of similar stories. And we used to roll our eyes, but to be quite honest, they'd earned it. They'd earned the right to say that kind of thing. And when I look at you, I think to myself, good for you. In 40 years' time, you're going to bore the socks off your junior staff, but you've earned it. Well done. Congratulations, Class 2020. So the last thing for me to do is to formally close this ceremony, which we do with a traditional Latin prayer, which I'll translate as we go along, the second piece of Latin I promised you. I declare this congregation for the celebration of our graduates closed. Salve sit universitas nostra, may our university prosper. Quod precantes consurgamus. And praying thus, let us all stand together. Congratulations to you all.
Graduates and guests, please stand.